Hi, book club members. I'm Jen.
And I'm Carrie.
And this is Warhammer 40k Book Club, where we read from a crag. This is episode number 143, and our book is Leontus, the Lord Solar by Rob Young. It's Rob Young, right? Yes,
Yes, it's
Rob Young.
Rob
All
Young.
of a sudden, I thought his name was something else. It tells the story of, wait for it, Leontus, the Lord Solar, on one of his campaigns. We posted several questions on our website, WH40book 40k bookclub.com. It's been a long day, you guys, and we encourage participation in our discussions via Twitter, YouTube, our site, or Encrypted Vox channel. Spoiler warning, if you haven't yet read the book, definitely check it out before listening to this episode, as we'll be discussing the book from start to finish in great detail. With that, let's dive in. As always, Carrie, did you like the book?
I loved this book. This is a contender for Book of the Year. If I had read this when it published in 2024, I might have changed my Book of the Year back then.
Ooh, dang. I can't disagree with what you're saying, though.
Because when I started
At all.
reading it, I could not put this thing down.
Yes, I would agree with that statement. Absolutely loved it. And the funny thing is I think going into this book, you and I both were like, okay.
I was like, I never heard of him. You know, we were both talking earlier about, there's two character series. There's the Horus Heresy character series, and then there's the Warhammer 40k character series. And we're both like, we haven't really enjoyed very many of these books. So throw that in, I was like, okay. I mean, I liked Long Shot a lot by Rob Young. But I also liked Witchbringer a lot. And I feel like the last book, The Broken Crusade, kind of let me down. So I was like, I don't know how this one's going to be, but holy crap. This guy can write Imperial Guardsmen, or I guess Astra Militarum, so well.
Agreed. And we'll talk more about this in a minute, but like, I liked that each of the guardsmen were like the stereotypes of their worlds, but not trite and not like over the top stereotypical, right?
It wasn't like
We'll
the
talk more
Breakfast
about
Club of stereotypes.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much like that. And we'll talk more about that in here in a second. But I totally agree with you. This is definitely going to be one of my contenders. It definitely, like, I went through, I actually think I went and put up our book club awards like for this year so I could put down one of the lines, which dovetails very nicely into what part stood out to you. And the line that I quoted was when he goes to kill Mad Doc Stitcher, and Mad Doc Stitcher is like, "Oh, yes, you are the greatest adversary." And he's like, "I was your greatest adversary, but to the Imperium, you're just another orc." Oh, dude, it's mean.
I loved that orc, they saying that he was looking for his own old Baelai. And Leontus is like, I have no idea what this guy's even talking about.
I love that when he's just like, the prophet has old Baelai, and he's like, okay.
Like if he said Yark, he would have got it. But, old Baelai, I've been like,
Right. If he would have said like, "Oh yes, Commissar Yarrick," he would have been like, "Oh, you guys know him." But yeah, exactly. I liked that. The whole dichotomy between them was great, or the rivalry between them was great. But that line, I was like, that's mean spirited.
So like a part stood out to me. It was actually going to go up for book club awards for like funniest moment. It was early on in the book, and it's when some of the Attillans actually meet Lord Solar, and he fights off an orc who is dying. The orc starts yelling at him. They hear Leontus talking back, and they're like, is he talking to it? The orc says something back. Leontus responds and then shoots him in the head. And one of the guys says, well, I guess he didn't like what he had to say.
That was excellent. And I always like I like when Leontus, I liked in general with him, I liked that he spoke a little bit of a lot of languages, right? And it's
Yeah.
funny, and we talk about this a lot, is that, the orcs, when we read a book from their perspective, they're just funny. And there were some funniness to them here, but they were also kind of terrifying. I forget that they are not speaking Gothic. They are speaking soccer hooliganese. And I like that it's a whole other language, because I forget that. I
Yeah.
honestly forget. As soon as he was just like, when he was saying, he's just like, oh, I speak enough to understand what they're saying. I'm like, all right. Yeah, they're not speaking English.
Or
But
Gothic.
they're still funny.
Yep.
Sorry, Gothic.
So another part that stood out to me, it was when Belgute confronted a Lord Solar over the Krieg's death.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a wonderful line in there where he's just like, you're just going to waste like our lives as currency. And Lord Solar goes, yes, my life, your life, all of our lives are just spent, to keep the Imperium safe. And it's just like that. He just was so shocked by it. Like, you would really do that. He's like, that's not the leader I thought you were. Like, well, and when he told him, he's like, you're not mad at the situation. You're mad that I'm not living up to this, what you expected of this pedestal. I loved that because you would think, honestly, like a Lord Solar, he would be like, honestly, like what we have here in the States, like a 4-star general. They just sit behind a desk and order people to their desks. Like they're very removed from the situation. But Leontus understands his position very well. He knows exactly what he's supposed to do. He knows exactly how he's supposed to do it. So he's got enough politician in him to get where he is, but he's also a strategist that doesn't mind getting his own hands dirty at the same time.
Oh, yeah. And okay. So this actually bridges over nicely into just, do we like him as a leader? And it's one of the things that Rob Young did so well in this book is that, so we know who Lord Solar is, right? Master strategist, master politician, master this, master that, the guy, right? Larger than life. But rather than telling us that over and over and over and over, he did a really good job of showing it, like how strategic his mind was and how he just moved and like he would recalculate as new pieces fell into place for him. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, we can do this too. And then, okay, we're going to actually go and get those guys because then we could do X, Y, Z. Like, really great. That scene, though, in particular, I think was probably the best scene in this entire book for a few reasons. My favorite is when he's upset, right? Like, how could you have done this? And he's just like, when did he first encounter the orcs? When did he first get this medal that he's wearing?
Yeah.
And of course, he's like, I don't know. The fact that he had answers for it, the fact that he had gotten to know them all, the fact that he knew everyone's names, right? Like, is that a political strategy? Yes, absolutely. The true hallmark of a politician. And yet, also the hallmark of a person who understands that me just knowing your name makes a big difference.
Well, but how many commissars don't know the names of just their regiment?
Yeah, exactly. But he has that, like, and because when he talked about like how all those deaths are on his conscience, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get the impression that is 100% true because he knows these people. He took the time to get to know their names. He knows something about them. Like, that's, especially for a Krieg, that is huge. And I liked that even Belgate was momentarily chastised by that. But my favorite part of that is when he walks off and the way the Cadians looked at him.
Death stares.
Like, how dare you? Like, well, and first off, like, it really, so I have heard of the Space Mongols, which the narrator called Adelans. I was telling Carrie before the podcast, I listened to part of the book on audio, and it was so funny. He was talking about the Adelans, and I'm like, the hell's an Adelan? Then I went to read the book, and I was like, oh, you mean Attilan? Like Attila, that like these are Space Mongols? The horses? Anyways, I like, how privileged are these, quite frankly, Jagovs, that you're like, how could you just spend our lives like that, my brother in Christ? that's what the Imperial Guard do.
Mm-hmm.
They he kind of in that moment reminded me a little bit of the Volpone, right? Of like, I mean, yeah, some people get their lives spent, but not us. Like, not like we don't do that. No,
No,
that's what we do here.
but he even said my life. You know, and if he really considered everybody currency, right? He wouldn't have been down there with them. That was a choice he made to be down there. He didn't have to. So
At the end when he's like, okay, everybody's getting off except for me, I'm going to stay down here and finish this off, right?
yeah, and Arnett's is just like, what? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The fact that Abnett was like, oh, like she was kind of freaking out there for a second of like, oh no, we're not getting off the planet. Oh no, we are. But you're staying. Like, again, this man, yes, they're currency, but he's not wasteful with that currency. He's not the Krieg, right? Of just throw bodies at it. Like he felt much more pragmatic than that.
Yes.
Which,
but he was calculating. Like he didn't want to waste lives, mainly because they didn't have that many to begin with. But he also knew that, you know, to make an omelet, you're going to have to break a couple of eggs to get there. It's just a matter of which eggs do we break. And the fact that, honestly, of course the Krieg volunteered. Of course he did. Of
course Roust did. And the fact that he took all of the sick and the injured, like, again, you can see the calculation, right? The people who are either a cost of our resources, too slow, or when injured to really be of use to us, or probably going to die soon anyways. Like, Roust was not going to be in a good place after that amputation, right?
Right.
Again, okay, I can send 30 assholes, or I can send these specific people who are already at the end of their tether. Again, very conscientious.
Who are ready to die in the name of the Emperor so that their sacrifice wasn't in vain. So, you know, yeah. And I thought,
I loved that.
You know, and I think that, you know, Belgate, he, you know, honestly, it was interesting how he felt comfortable enough to chastise the frickin' Lord Solar. It's like, you do understand commissars have killed people for less. Like, just throwing that out there. Like, thank God there wasn't a commissar there, because the guy probably wouldn't have taken 2 steps without getting his head blown off.
To be fair, which again, I think goes back to that where I'm like, wow, you guys kind of are privileged, aren't you? Like, I suddenly want to know more about them. Yeah, I suddenly want to know more about them. That, like, wow, that occurred to you. Like, you're just like, oh yeah, I don't care who you are. I'm gonna go over there and yell at you. The fact that they kept chafing at being held back in reserve, right? Like, they had no problem. They had no problem doing that. And so that I suddenly am like, I want to know a little bit more of you. That this occurred to you because, again, the Cadians, the look the Cadians gave him was more. I got the impression it wasn't necessarily that he yelled at the Lord Solar. It was more like, are you new here?
Like, do you not want to die for the Emperor? The chain of command, basically. Like, that's very, very important to the Cadians. Even the Catachan, like, you know, Arnett was like, dude, what are you doing? If there were more Krieg, they probably would have killed him. But,
probably.
Right?
Very much so. But yeah, I suddenly want to know a little bit more about them.
Yeah, especially because probably one of my favorite scenes also was when the Lord Solar made them walk. They're like, we haven't walked this much since we were children.
Like, we are horsemen. Horsemen and women.
That really cracked me up.
That did crack me up. Were you invested in this ragtag militarum unit?
Yes.
Like, who was your favorite?
Honestly, probably Anderson, the Cadian.
I loved Anderson.
I was sad when stupid PTSD girl gets them all killed.
So this book would have been a 5 out of 5, but the fact that Anderson and Belgate die makes it a 3 out of 5. Anderson in particular, like, PTSD girl. Oh, I get it. And it makes me so sad for her, right? The fact that Acadian got broken. Like somebody who grows up right by the Eye of Terror got, yeah, again, a quick little reminder. Oh, by the way, the Acadians are also human. All of these people are
Right.
human. Anderson, from the get-go, the second they got him out of Hawk, I was like, oh, I like this character. And then I was like, but maybe he's going to die now, isn't he?
As soon as you said, I like this character, you can almost hear George R.R. Martin going, your favorite character, eh?
Like, oh, I'm sorry. You like this person? Yeah. I liked Arnett's a lot. I thought Arnett's was a really good. We don't often see the Catachan as Medicaid.
No. But I thought
And I
she was such a perfect, like, go-between, you know, between him, the Acadians, and the Attillans. So I thought that was very well done. Like, she had a really funny line when she was talking about the orcs, how they, like, it doesn't matter like how much you chop off, they still come at you. She's like, at least the predators on Catachan know when to die. That was pretty funny.
Absolutely loved that. And I liked that, again, she wasn't like over the top Catachan, right?
No.
But she also wasn't just like meek and little mild Medicaid. He did a really good job of being like, here's what a Catachan Medicaid would be like. And I will ship her and Anderson until the end of the earth.
Yeah, I know. But they never even found Anderson's body. You know, they found PTSD girl, and then they're like, oh, crap. That means he's probably dead too.
To be fair, he could be off somewhere. Like,
I don't know if he could have gotten away from the Death Skulls.
He's going to meet up with, like, he's going to get bust out of Hawk again by Lord Solar, and they're going to do the Predator handshake. Again, it's going to be amazing.
The Predator handshake. That would be amazing, though.
Exactly. Or they'll do the Bowfinger one where they do the Predator handshake and good to see you again, brother. I'm telling you, I have all the good ideas. And then Anderson and Arnett's will get together because I need more Cadian Catachan romances in my life other than that one book. Is that Death Worlder?
Yes.
Need more of that in my life. I absolutely love that. I loved Roust, even though Roust like was super like small. He's Krieg. But like,
but
the
he had a
description
name
of him. He
So
did have a name.
Mhm.
He did have a name. I liked the descriptions when she's working on him, and she's like, "Oh, there's this weird kind of musty smell coming off of him." Like, yeah, that absolutely would be the Krieg. I absolutely would love to think that. And again, he's Kriegian, right? Yep, I can sacrifice myself. Whoa, calm down, buddy. We'll wait on that. Hold that thought. But then when the time was right, he wasn't like obnoxiously Krieg, I guess is what I'm saying.
He was creaky enough.
He was just Krieg enough, just the right amount of Krieg. Really liked them. I liked how they kept growing. I loved all of the Attillans. I loved Belgatai, even though like I was like, oh, dude, how dare you? Still was invested in him. Absolutely, he goes out like a badass.
He does.
But the fact that he died at all. The Lord is testing me. That was a hard one. Was this a good campaign to show off the Lord Solar and his element?
Yeah. You could throw him into like a campaign that they're winning. Boring. This is a campaign that he's like, I have failed this. I did not predict, this much of it going in. Dropped in the middle of the orcs fighting each other. That was not good. And now most of us are dead because of it. And we have to somehow recoup what we're doing. No idea who's still alive. We have to get to the spaceport. I have to wait till our fleet comes back into orbit and somehow survive until then. Like, you got everything stacked against him.
Oh my gosh, literally everything. And he had to make a series of hard calls, right? He absolutely rose to the challenge. Absolutely rose to the challenge. I have decided, like I'm thinking specifically of the Cipher book. I am thinking a little bit of the Sigismund book. I'm definitely thinking of
Helbrecht was another one.
Oh yeah, the Helbrecht book. I'm thinking of the Lilith Hesperax book. This book, much like Luther, perfectly captured the character in his element.
Yes.
And showed mostly, again, this was a good book of showing how people reacted to this person and how they do their magic. So like for Leontus, you can absolutely see why this person inspires people. Like, yeah, everyone's inspired because they're like, oh my God, I've seen, much like Doc Stitcher says, I've seen the statues. Like, there's a literal living legend in front of me. But then getting to see him walk alongside you and getting to see him do his thing. And yeah, I think against the Orcs, especially against the Orcs, who are kind of, and I've said this a lot, but they're literal anarchy, right? They are the true definition of the word chaos. And watching his tactical mind react to, okay, they're doing this, and now they're doing this, and I have a feeling they're doing this. Like when the Gargant shows up, and he's like,
"Yeah, that's what I thought was."
Yeah, I kind of had a feeling this was going to happen. And again, just watching him make lemonade, like when life hands you lemons, blood for the blood god. He definitely,
he made lemon grenades.
That's right. Demand to see Life's manager.
Demand Life take the lemons back. What the hell am I going to do with these?
Lemon hand grenades. Oh, J.K. Simmons' best role ever. Agreed. That game came out a really long time ago.
It did. Let's not get into that.
Let's not discuss that. Just thinking about that, like that was a spell ago. But regardless, yeah, I liked a good demonstration of, let me show you how this character operates. Let me show you what makes this character so amazing. He, in a lot of ways, reminded me of a human version of Reboot Guilliman.
Oh, 100%, which is why I thought it was interesting. I think it was Anderson, I think. Was it Anderson or was it one of the Attillans who said that he'd heard, like someone he knew said, it's a shame the Lord Solar is living in the same era as Reboot, which actually, I think of another parallel, Luther and the Lion.
Luther and the Lion.
Except
would have been the greatest hero of his age.
Except that I don't think the Lord Solar is a bitter man-child the way that Luther kind of ended up being over the Lion.
He, unlike Luther, he understands exactly
his role. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm human. Reboot Guilliman is a Primarch. He's a literal demigod. And I think it helps that, it would be really hard to deal with Captain Autism, who doesn't tell you anything. Go home. Why? Because I said to go home.
Did I stutter?
Oh, bro. Like, go home. Because I'm a little bit concerned about XYZ. Look at this 2-minute conversation. Everything's solved.
No, instead it was, why am I going home? Did I stutter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because you just figured out yourself. Good news. Go talk to your good buddy Typhon. He'll make sure you understand everything.
Yeah. Then Zahariel's like, dear Lion, can you please talk to Luther and find out why, can he come back? What are we really doing here? And the Lion put all those letters in file 13.
Exactly. It's just like, no, obviously not.
So, at least, Reboot's also a master strategist and politician and knows how to handle people.
True. Although, Leontus doesn't, going back to the comment that you made, like, I think he doesn't strike me as the type of guy who would need that type of coddle.
No.
Or that, like, maybe just like a crisp high five and like, hey, you're doing a good job. Anyways, I don't even think you would need that. Like, nope. I
don't think you would either. But yeah,
like, I'm a master strategist as well. It speaks for itself. Not to your level, but look at all the things I've done. Cool, let's move on with our lives.
Where do you
definitely
need me to
strikes me
go
as more of
next,
that.
my lord?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Yeah, but I do love those parallels though, that about a master strategist and a master politician. We got, we have Reboot and we have Reboot at home. So
That's right. Except, unlike we have Reboot at home. No. This one's actually a pretty good.
he's
It's like the
not
Archer
a Hong
Farms
Kong
version.
knockoff. He's just Reboot at home.
He's like an Archer Farms version as opposed to like a Great Value. Is it?
Yes,
You know what? It might
I
even
didn't
be a
say
little
great
bit.
value. I
Might
just said Reboot at home.
It might even be good in Gather Brand. I'm just saying. If you know, you know. I like the fact that he just shows off. He gets to be in his element. It helps that he speaks a little Orcish, right? So he kind of knew what was going on. And I love a good impossible battle, right? And so like I love a good siege story. And not a siege story, but this is definitely like okay, we've cobbled together, we've got 10 guys. Oh, now we've got 20. Now we've got 30. Now we have enough that we need like 3 different camps. This is amazing.
This would actually make a good script for a video game.
It kind of felt that way, didn't it? When they were, and then of course, like, your camp gets compromised because of PTSD, girl. Poor thing. I legit just felt sad for her when she stops and she's like, oh, shoot, no, nobody's chasing me. Oh man, I think I imagined it all. And then she got killed. No, you messed up, but you weren't wrong.
Right.
We're all very disappointed in you, but you're not wrong. We're still disappointed in you, though.
Oh yeah, you got
a lot
Anderson
of good people
killed.
died. You got Anderson killed. Anyways,
because I was feeling sorry for her until that moment. Like, nope, now you got Anderson killed. I'm done with you.
Yeah, that's fair. I felt like Anderson and Leontus could have been BFFs.
Totally. It could have been like his, right-hand man.
Right? And he could have had Arnett's as his, like, personal chirurgeon.
That's right.
I think it would have been really good. I'm just throwing that out there. But no, our friend with PTSD had to ruin it all. Did you like the Orcs as the adversary in this book? Just in general?
Yes. I always like the Orcs, though. So the Orcs they're funny and terrifying. And I'm glad that we actually had a couple of chapters that were from their point of view, or at least like some parts of it are from their point of view, because that's always good fun. And I really like this dynamic that we had, the Death Skulls versus the Speed Freaks. Two completely different factions. And I loved how, Leontus was able to play them against one another. I love how they were trying to figure out what was going on. I love the interaction with the Ed Knobs, especially at the end. So like I always love the Orcs as the Xenos du jour.
I agree with that. I totally agree with it. And I agree with you as well. I don't think I would have liked it if we would have had like full chapters from their point of view.
No, but just getting enough.
It was just enough. It didn't overstay its welcome. It didn't divert from the main plot, right? It just, to your point, it kept that little bit of that humor in there and let us see a little bit of those inner workings, because what have we always said about the Orcs? They're their own worst enemy.
Yes.
And
they're funny
Leontus,
and terrifying.
Mm-hmm. And in the fact that like they fight each other just as quickly as they'll fight a common enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And Leontus plays them off each other very well, but not in a dumb way. Like, his plan was very sound when he immediately starts pitting those two groups against each other. It wasn't one of those things where you were like, really? Nope, that 100% makes sense and that 100% works.
Yeah, I loved he shot one of those Death Skulls and they're like, what is that? And then they see the Speed Freaks come around the corner and they're like, oh, I don't think so. And Speed Freaks suddenly forget about the Humies that they're chasing because we got Death Skulls coming right at them. Really, really entertaining.
Very entertaining. I forgot I did like when they were salvaging some of like the weapons and stuff from the Orcs, and the humans were like, I don't even know how this worked. Like, how would this possibly have shot anything? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Right. You just have to believe in it.
You just have to believe hard enough. Or when they were like assembling like something that looked like a ship, and they were like, "Oh, that's never getting off the ground." Oh,
Have you guys ever heard of a thing called a rock?
Have you ever heard of a rock? They're pretty cool. Yeah, it was just it. And the best thing that I loved about this book is that this book was the perfect length for the story that he was telling in here, right? Like, I definitely think he probably could have added on maybe 2 or 3 more chapters, and I would have been pretty invested in it. But
I think it
got in, it got out.
Yeah, I thought it rounded out his character very well. Like, one thing, other thing I also liked, is at the end when he takes off the radiant helm. And he's like, "Oh man, my neck's gonna be sore for a long time." Of course, it made me think of the heavy is the head, that wears the crown. And so, yes, a part of it is like, I'm the Lord Solar, like, inspirational, but it has its function that he really needed as well. I thought that was such a nice way to tie it on in, because that kind of described him, right? Pretty to look at, very functional.
Well, like, I loved when she was talking about his hands. And he was just like, yeah, I wanted something super high quality, but these need to be functional. Like, I need to be able to use these. Everything about him was very pragmatic. Going back really quickly, I did like how Arnett's kept noticing the more and more gray on him and how he tried to hide it, but she saw it. And she could see him basically looking his age.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I think anything like this would age you.
Right.
But it aged everybody there. Like, the ones who actually survived, they all probably aged 10 years.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
That's one of the things I always find fascinating about, if you look at, American presidents, their photo on their first day of office, and then you see their photo on their last day, how much they age in those 4 to 8 years. It's crazy.
It is absolutely crazy to look at. That's the thing. That's absolutely the thing. There's other jobs too. There was a Reddit post forever ago where they were talking about, it's not just presidents. Like, there were other jobs like that too, where you can see like when people enter in, and then like 4 years later, but in a short amount of time. Like, obviously, if you've done a job for a very long time, we expect you to age, right? But like, it's a thing.
Yeah, I'm just like, because like the president, obviously a little more out in public, so you see that. I mean, geez, when 100%. I worked at an ABC affiliate, and I was the morning show. So what does that mean? It means I have to be there at 3 a.m. I'm there from 3 a.m. until 11 a.m. So that's an 8-hour shift. You're like, what's the big deal? The big deal is that your body is really not meant for you to be up at those hours. And the producer of that show, she had to be there at midnight. She was there from midnight to 9, I believe. And you have those kind of hours, you age. And that was something like her doctor told her about. And even then, like, she and I both noticed it in each other, that after doing that for just half a year,
I could imagine
we looked older. And I mean, I'm pale to begin with, but imagine, that I wake up at 7 p.m. in the evening, go have breakfast or dinner, and then have to go into work. And your body's like, what are we doing? It's very hard on you. So any job like that, I can imagine. And like, I would think like even like a mining job would probably do that to you. Any job that's dangerous, that kind of level of stress.
Oh, absolutely would agree. And that's one of the things too, is I think they mention this, sometimes books mention this, but I think like with the humans in this universe age, I think a little bit quicker than others. But I liked the idea that yes, he has rejuvenat, and yes, because he's been doing this for more than 100 years, right? But I like the idea that that we already know that rejuvenat has like its limits, right? But I like that this campaign has been so trying. Like, I'm going to need a double dose of this afterwards, because you're starting to see my age right now. Because this is, but again, it also humanized him really well, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I thought it really humanized him really well. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. It's a nice little touch. And I like that she was the one who noticed it because she's a Medicaid, right? So
Mm-hmm.
everybody else just sees this larger than life person, which she did see that, but she also saw him for just being a human being, right? Great concept.
Like I would love more stories about this guy.
Oh, very much so. I would love more stories about any of these people, especially the story where he finds Anderson alive and well. I'm just throwing that out there. It could happen, Carrie. Don't take it from me. Please don't take it from me.
I mean, it's possible. It's just not probable.
I'm going to go ahead and assume that it is not even possible. But no, I would absolutely read more stories about him. I would read more stories where he was a character. I actually kind of like the idea that, like with the Space Marine books, right? There's always the Space Marines are off doing things. And at some point, usually bookending on a lot of those books, right? Bob shows up. And so you have this grand person who we all love. I would love to see that with more of the Astra Militarum books, even like something in the solar having a regiment. Maybe it's Arnett's, maybe her and her next group, right? And then all of a sudden the Lord Solar, she's a little bit of the Lord Solar or something. Like I want more of him, I guess is what I'm saying. I really like what he did with this. And again, talk about a surprise and a delight book, because I was not, again, I wasn't like, I don't want to read this, but it was just kind of like, I guess. Nope, absolutely loved it. Definitely going to be a contender.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm almost kind of like, again, kind of wishing we made time for it last year, but that's what happens when they decide we're going to publish like 20 books in 3 months. So,
we're going to end load it all at the end of the year. They're all new coming out.
Yeah, I think that's how this year is going to go too. So
I strongly suspect you are correct. And we're actually dipping into the Wayback Machine for our next book so that we can go into a new book.
Like, I think the first new book of 2025, yes?
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
yes,
for us anyway.
Yes, for us. I'm really nervous about this one because we are reading Double Eagle by Dan Abnett. If you've read on our site, shameless plug, I maybe mentioned why this is one of my favorite books of all time. I haven't read it in about 15 years. I've read it twice. I'm hoping that it holds up. I'm hoping I don't go back and read it and I'm like, oh, this is, I don't know. It's okay.
When was this originally written? 2004. Okay, so it was before Abnett drank the comic book Kool-Aid.
Yes, this is, okay, yeah, because we read it originally in 2007, and it was a couple of years old. I remembered that. So yeah, it was a few years old at that point. My favorite thing is looking at the back of this one. The most recent Gaunt's Ghost book was Trader General. So I'm so excited. We bought this one back when ordering books from the Black Library was a little sketch. You had to like Western Union money to them, and then they boxed them up and put them on the Mayflower and sent them across the ocean. It took forever. It took for literal ever to get books from the Black Library. It just felt really sketchy, but it really wasn't.
I don't know. The Western Union thing probably would have made me nervous, but
there was no Western Union. It just felt that way. Like you paid, and then it was like a week later, my bank would be like, okay, so we figured out what it would be if we put this into, because this, again, it's back in 2007, man. Wasn't as quick. Love it. I'm so excited to read it. But then all in preparation so that we can then read Interceptor City. So let's go read The Red Baron in Space, Carrie.
I mean, we really liked Denny Flowers' book. So, hey, or I liked them. So, hey, why not more?
I loved the second one.
Like, why not? I like the first one too, but why not more, fighter pilots in space? Because you always think about, when you think of, them fighting in space, you think of like the big ships.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But when they get to the planet, it wasn't really until you even told me at Double Eagle the first time, I was like, oh yeah, they would need an air force to fight on the planet. They can't just have ground troops.
Pretty much.
And especially thinking about when a rock appears.
This book actually has one of my husband's and my favorite Warhammer 40k lines that we reference a lot. And so, which I can tell you now because I won't spoil anything, but it'll make sense when you get to it, is what are you going to do? Swim for the God Emperor? It's excellent. Just love this book. I'm so excited for this.
It's a valid question.
It is a valid question. Swim team's not big in the 40k universe in general, I don't think.
No. I always feel like we should
though.
make like bracelets, like the "What would Jesus do?" Just, what are you gonna do for the emperor? Swim?
Exactly. What are you gonna do? Swim? Yeah, it'll totally make sense once you read it. But we reference that a lot about books. We're reading books. We'll be like, "What are you gonna do? Swim?" Yes, very excited for this one. With that, do you want to take us out, Karen?
Yes, because apparently I've lost the ability to talk, so I sure will.
Excellent.
Right. So you've listened to the Warhammer 40k Book Club episode regarding Leontus, Lord Solar by Rob Young. Sorry, Mr. Young, that's 2 for 2 now, so expectations are high. The bar has been set. Do not let us down. You've been warned. So but be sure to join us next time for Double Eagle, so like another Imperial Guard book by Dan Abnett. We are an unofficial book club and not affiliated with the Black Library or any of its affiliates. You can find both the vidcast and podcast on our website, WH40kbookclub.com. If you like this episode, please like, subscribe, give a review, and all those things to the vidcast that is on YouTube, Spotify, and Rumble, or the podcast anywhere you get podcasts. And come join our Discord. We have fun discussions, share a lot of memes. People argue over which is better, Chaos or Loyalists or Xenos. And I'm like, all you people that are for Chaos and Xenos, like, I don't know what's wrong with you. I'm kidding. I find it all very interesting how everyone argues over it. Yeah, I know. But anyway, and sometimes people share what they're painting. I guess I'm just pro-fascist. Or did we just decide everyone's fascist in their own way in this universe? I think so.
Oh my God. Yes, they basically are. Do you want fascism? Do you want fascism with magic, or do you want fascism with a pretty label on it? A sugar coating on it? Which fascism do you want?
I think I would like the fascism where we don't get, where we die, we're not feast for gods, I guess. I guess I like the fascism where there's hope. I will go there. I have hope. That's kind of where I am. But honestly, don't put me in this universe. Like, I don't want to be there.
Oh God, please no. No. Anybody who says they want to go to the 40k universe, have you read a lot of books? I need you to explain yourself to me.
Yeah, I want nothing to do with it. But anyway, so we do have fun discussions in there. And our site also has articles about adventures and reading other Warhammer 40k books outside of the book club books. So please stay a while and read for Buckrag. Yeah, I finished my tea and think like we are out of here. Oh, look, there's a dog. Oh, I can't point. Ah, stupid dog. There. She had to be with me today.
Understood.
Yep, that happens. You don't have the beacon of Gondor, so never mind. So anyway,
I don't. I redid stuff. Get you some chaos from Stephanie Battelle. I think it's glitter blood designs on Etsy.
Glitter blood designs. You're probably right.
I think that's what her Etsy shop is.
I really think that's what it's called. All right. So with that, good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.